Hi, I'm Betsy Mortensen, co-founder of Sustain Music and Nature. We're a nonprofit focused on greening the music industry. We envision the music community playing a much greater role in promoting environmental responsibility and awareness. We have two programs that make this possible, Songscapes and Green Roster. Songscapes are songwriting retreats for bands held on public lands. We partner bands with public lands for week-long retreats where they learn about the area's ecology, have fun outdoors, and create a song inspired by their stay. We share the song and music video with fans to create new audiences for public lands. We believe music is the perfect way to celebrate our public lands and to inspire people to visit and protect them. Green Roster is a community of bands, studios, and instrument makers committed to upholding environmental practices in their businesses. After taking a pledge to uphold our environmental guidelines, they are granted use of our Green Roster stamp to show that they are part of a growing movement to improve environmental practices in the music industry. We work with our members to help come up with creative and cost-effective ways of protecting the environment while also advancing their art. Please learn more about our exciting work and how you can get involved at our website, sustainmusicandnature.org. As a young nonprofit, we rely on your donations to make music a force for nature. Please consider donating at the link above.
So we are now here joined by Betsy Mortensen and Harrison Goodale of Sustain Music and Nature. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
That was a very informative video there. It's always so great how you can do things in like a small little like 2-minute video. However, it only really touches the tip of the iceberg as far as what you're all doing here. So we're going to spend some more time going into each of those different elements and learning much more about the organization. But first, I kind of just wanted to touch on like how we all kind of got connected and the different cool ways that things are somewhat, I feel like, you know, these universe kind of just introducing you to people and the different kind of connections you can make and whatnot. It's very much actually. Last week's episode was Ben Kogan, who is Musicians for Sustainability and Reusable Solutions. And then tonight we have you all on, and then the two gentlemen that I met at the same event from Symmetry Wood. So the Martin Guitar Sustainability Summit somewhat really just built the entire guest list for this whole 2 weeks leading up to the No Planet B Jamboree. But just kind of wanted to get your take on like the Martin Guitar Summit and just music industry momentum in your perspective before we kind of get into everything.
Yeah, so we got kind of reached out to out of the blue by Martin Guitar, and though I'm not the musician, I recognize how quality Martin is, and you're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, from my band days, both of my band members who play guitar, they had Martins,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, Martin reaching out to you was like an unexpected and exciting email that you wake up to. Like, oh,
Is this some sort of phishing scam or something like that?
Yeah, so it's really great to be a part of that and see what else is happening in the sustainability space of music, because there's just so many ways to approach it for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and for someone like myself, it was just hugely helpful, not only to just meet people like yourself and and Ben and Gabe and so on, but what I was telling Ben was like it gave me a roadmap. Like it was the kind of thing where without that, I didn't even know how to make the biggest difference or where to even start. Like to and then certain things like drinks, if possible, be draft only. So that it reduces waste just with that. Like use a reusable cup with either beer or sodas or water that are coming out of a tap, then you don't have bottles or cans creating trash. It's like, that's really good advice. Like, it's just kind of like amazing stuff that until you have a networking event, you just don't even know these different ways to kind of like try to, engineer an event.
Yeah. And I think, having Martin put that on was like super important for setting, an example for the industry. Sure. And I mean, from my perspective too, coming into it as a musician, like I was also curious about, how they're actually like making the guitars, or they're sourcing guitars, learning more about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super interesting.
Yes.
The story from the luthiers that reclaim the mahogany that's like sunken on the bottom of like
Yeah.
rivers. So, they're armed with like a knife and fighting off, alligators.
Yeah, and like
It's
all
like,
sorts of things trying to kill them.
yeah, it's like not what you're thinking about when you're like, oh, I'm going to play this Martin
Yeah,
guitar.
this,
It's like,
yeah.
the-
Sounds
the-
beautiful, looks beautiful, and then has a beautiful story behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really impressive and important,
Yes.
for a name such as Martin to really, be taking the initiative and kind of taking the first steps to like
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, completely agree. Because like this is something like again for putting on a festival. I've been saying this phrase, and I imagine same thing with what they're doing from a musical instrument manufacturing standpoint. Is it's not easy, but it's easy if you make the right. Like once you acknowledge that, okay, this is a different decision I could make. Then it's like, all right, I'm going to make that one. It's a little bit harder, but it's not impossible. And so why not make the right decision rather than the other one, or the sleepy one? Like, sometimes it's like people aren't necessarily intentionally being, going down a certain path. It's just like, that's just the one that we've always done.
Yeah.
So it's like,
You
yeah,
get tied to kind of just how things have always been. Like,
Sure.
I remember when Chris was up there talking about trying to change public perception on like instruments made from wood that was sustainably harvested. You have this mindset like, oh, but it's not made with this type of wood. That's but it's like sonically, like we just have to engineer it a little differently, but it's going to be just as beautiful.
yeah. And
Like-
it might just simply
Yeah.
generate a different tone, not a bad one. Like
Yeah.
it's and who knows, it might be better. That's what I would think or hope. Like that would be where, the wood is like grateful for the life it lived, and you know what I mean. Like I just feel like that stuff takes care of itself. But anyway, yeah, it was great to meet you both, and to kind of just simply keep moving things forward through that event. So a huge thank you to Martin Guitar for the invite, and then thank you to the both of you for having some knucklehead approach you during the break, and and here we are. But I thought it might be cool to start, and it's something we often do on this show. Let's go back to when you're younger people, and I think it'll be an interesting kind of like timeline too. I think it's kind of interesting story about how the two of you met, and then how the organization gets formed, and then we'll get into that. But let's go in the time machine here. Betsy, we'll start with you because actually, like you said, you are not a musician. But you are where the environmental aspect comes from because that's what you studied. But where did that inspiration come from? I got to imagine it started even earlier in your life, like as a younger child.
Yeah. So I grew up basically feral, out in the woods all of the time,
Right.
Hunting, fishing, hiking, just outside all the time
Yeah.
with my parents, and that kind of led
I saw a
me.
T-shirt once that said, "I was raised on hose water and neglect," and I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of yeah.
Perfect upbringing. And I really wanted to do something in my career to protect places that meant
Sure.
so much to me growing up. And that's how I got into first wildlife biology
Yep.
for my bachelor's degree at Colorado State, and then shifted more towards the human side of conservation and thinking about how do you get people to care about the thing in the first place,
Yes. Yep.
to make sure it's still there so that
Which is an interesting thing about the organization. We're definitely going to get to that. The messaging that you all have kind of taken on. Yeah.
So did masters at Cambridge in environment, society, and development. Did some marketing stuff and put that to use at Sustain.
Yeah. Now, did you also get a chance, I believe, to go to like Africa and study primates and stuff?
Yeah, I did a bizarre side quest studying, tracking chimpanzees in unprotected areas of Western Tanzania and trying to figure out of, with limited resources, we can't protect all of the chimpanzees, unfortunately. So which populations are most at risk of disappearing and try to funnel resources towards those.
Yeah. And I heard you speak about this, where you were genuinely, this is, you're in your 20s, and you were genuinely like scared for your life.
Yep.
And then you were thinking about like, and everyone knows Jane Goodall, like she was out there doing this as if it was just like any old Wednesday.
With no cell phones.
Right.
That's that shit.
Yeah. So like the
Fine.
yeah, I mean like the to put that in perspective for other people, because she made it look so easy. You're like, oh, look at these gentle giants and blah blah blah. Like, no, I'm sure that was also not the only thing that was out there that might take your life in a split second.
Nope.
But I thought that was just a very cool story. So we can pause there on the Betsy story. Now we'll move over to the Harrison story. You're more of the music side of this. So that was the nature portion. This will be the music portion. You were a musician. You were a touring musician, in a band. And so let's roll that back. What were your inspirations in? Like, how did you kind of find music and then ended up with the band?
Yeah. I mean, I think I grew up in a very musical family. My mom is, a musician, played guitar all the time. My dad always grew up, with records. We would have like dance parties with records, like just, Fleetwood Mac and,
Sure.
Bruce Springsteen. My dad would like whip out a harmonica and be playing along. So like I grew up with a lot of that
Fun.
growing up. It's always around music. And then my sister picked up violin in school, and then she picked up an instrument. So I was like, well, I gotta play an instrument too.
Right.
And so
Gotta
like
keep up with.
Yeah, the teacher was like, hey, do you want to play bass? It's like, I don't know what a bass is, but sure. And so they gave me this. I think I was in 5th grade at the time. So they gave me this instrument that was, bigger than me. It still is, but then I was just like, what is this thing? And they wouldn't let me make a note, like play it at all, until I could successfully take it in and out of its case without it like falling on me.
Oh my gosh!
So once I did that,
You would have had to like lift weights, like
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, so I did that. I actually never tried any other instrument. I don't know what, I was just like, all right, I'm bass.
Right. And so you say bass, you mean stand-up bass, not guitar bass. Yeah. So that's
bass.
interesting. Yeah.
So I started 5th grade.
I wonder if your sister had anything to do with that. You're like, give him the big heavy one.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't want that. So I did that.
And then tell him he's not allowed to play until he can hold it.
Yeah. Also, he can't play. He has to carry it.
Right.
So I did that. Played orchestra, youth orchestras. Went to school at University of Connecticut for music. Studied music education there. Throughout like high school, end of high school, and into college, like I was in like some, just like high school bands. I was playing rock. I was really into like Rock Phases, Red Hot Chili Peppers, that sort of stuff that like was popular at the time.
Sure.
That's when I picked up electric bass just on my own.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Flea is probably inspiring a lot of that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yes, Flea. And I was really into Victor Wooten at the time. Cannot play anything like him, but like he was just like,
I don't think anybody can.
Impressive. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
So I'd been involved in like small ensembles, orchestra, jazz, rock, and then I met my bandmates in college. They needed a bassist for just an EP that we're recording at like basically an off-campus like apartment, like an undergrad, just like I'm sure everyone can have that picture of like an undergrad off-campus apartment where it's just like, yeah. So they'd cobbled together like a recording situation upstairs. Mics were hanging off of like the ceiling rafters, to get things places, and
the light structure or whatever.
Pro Tools had like literally just come out to the public, I think at that time. The first like M Audio kind of came out, so they had their interface and trying to figure out how to use this thing. I played just like they're like, all right, here's the song, here are the chords. So I just played bass line is folk, so something I never really played before. So did that, and I was like, okay, I probably won't see these guys again. It was just like a one time, like, all right, thanks, okay, see ya. And then they called me up to play a couple shows, so I started playing more shows with them regularly, and then we started to get together more to like start writing songs together. We eventually, after college, all moved into a band house together, which is strangely the band house is 5 houses down from where we both live now on the same street.
Whoa!
Which is crazy. So that was like our first band house, like, and this was like 15 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah, so we just like would start doing that, and we started just booking our own shows as much as we could, playing all around Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then eventually we got signed to Signature Sounds up in Northampton, Massachusetts, and then picked up a booking agent also based in Massachusetts, kind of get us started. Started touring more regularly, and yeah, just put in the hours and the miles on the van, 15 passenger van going all across the U.S. and Canada, and that really was, I think, the first time that I spent a lot of time outside of Connecticut and really got exposed to like all the amazing places that are in the United States.
Sure.
And I think that's really, and we as a band made a point of on our off days to stop at a park or stop at a national park.
Yeah.
On our days off and go for a band hike, so that was like very much a part of like what we were doing anyway.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that really just helped form, for me, that connection with music and nature. Is like, it was just something that we did together. And it just,
sure. That's very cool. And then where these stories converge, if I understand it right, Betsy, you were home from graduate school, looking for a job, not really getting any hirings, trying to figure out where you were going to go next, and you went and saw a show of his band.
Yeah. I was like, I guess I'm tired of living at home. Now I get along great with my parents, but when you're 22 and it's a Great Recession, you don't.
No, certainly not. I totally, yeah. Even the best of relationships are still strained in those situations.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna go move back to Colorado, and I'll go see this band because I don't think they're gonna make it out there. So
we have local band all over our personality.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just fine. Some people that's
sure. Yeah, regional, whatever. That's
great.
Exactly.
And we connected, and then I did move to Colorado, and then like, that boy was nice. Let's see what's back on the East Coast.
Yeah. So tell us about
to the audience out there. Full disclosure, we are married now. In case anyone was wondering. Yeah, we're married now. But yeah, it's kind of like our meeting.
Yeah.
Back. Was it?
Yeah. So tell if there's any like fun. Is there a fun story from that night? Like, how did you strike up the conversation? Was this like
cooking?
Yeah, I think yeah. I'm trying to remember because like I remember we were waiting for the show to start, and there was an opener, and I was like in the back, and the place we were playing was like a kind of like a coffee house restaurant situation. I remember because of Betsy's friends all ditched her. So she's like, I'm going to the show anyway. So she's there by herself. So like, oh,
good for you. I do that all the time.
Yeah. So
constantly
like,
a solo
it's a
consumer.
Pretty girl. I'm going to go say hi. She's standing there just like looking around.
And did you know he was in the band, or did you think he was just?
I thought so. I mean, I'd seen them once before, and I was like, I think he is. All right.
Yeah. And then we just started talking about cooking, I think.
Right. Yeah. Of course, you talk about cooking at a show. Yeah. It's very natural.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super normal conversation, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. See you later. And then we I think exchanged numbers and then like kept in touch, and then so it's just weird how the universe works sometimes.
Totally.
Never thought we'd be like back to like the same street in Connecticut, like 13 years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in terms of after meeting and like when we were dating, like really think about how we could kind of combine our two interests. Like, Betsy really into the conservation and just knowing so much more about like, and something I'm still learning now is like all the different types of public lands there are. A lot of like the general public and myself, growing up, I was like, oh, it's a park. I don't know who manages it. It's just like you can go there and what.
Right. Yeah.
But like it's so much more complicated and nuanced, and
right.
And then for my end, like how can we leverage the social capital of musicians to really reach a broad audience that that I feel like, we've talked about this a lot just over the years, like how conservation has at times struggled with like their messaging in terms of reaching a broader base.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes sense to people that use it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of that classic, we're all in our own echo chambers and
Yep.
kind of just like talking to the same people that already agree.
Sure.
So how do you kind of get out of that and
Yeah.
other people?
That's even like, so like, I don't even, what's funny is when I'm asking musicians to be on the lineup, I'll say to them, I'm like, hey, it's not a political event, so you don't have to worry about that. And then I say, you don't even have to necessarily be some sort of outspoken. So, like, yes, there can be political capital used if the musician is so inclined, but I'm using the music purely to just bring people together and get you almost leveraging more the community to say, hey, look, we're all more alike than not.
Yeah.
We all, I think, would agree less trash is better than more trash, and we probably all want clean water and air. So here's some ways we can do it. So you kind of capture people in a weak moment while they're just listening to cool music. But yeah, so to your point, though, about music is it can really bring people together. And then if it has that messaging and that just kind of just brings it to a whole other level. But absolutely. But to kind of just, I guess, somewhat give us the bridge to sustain music in nature, you're touring, the tour life is burning you out. You obviously can't, it's nearly impossible to tour 200 dates and still now further a relationship with someone else. So like there's a crossroads that happens, and obviously the decision was made to kind of come together and then now form this organization. So what were the early days of this, and like how did it kind of find its footing? And then like I want to get into like the green roster and the soundscapes.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate in 2015 when we started Sustain Music in Nature to be working for Simon Roosevelt, who is a really active public lands advocate.
Sure.
Teddy Roosevelt's great-great-grandson.
That is so cool.
And so he was deeply involved in advocacy across the U.S. For protecting public lands, and it was so valuable to be able to like bounce ideas off of him and get to know people within his network. And he connected us with Lucas St. Clair, who at that time in 2015 was working to get some of his family's property to be declared a national park up in Maine. So Maine Woods and Waters outside of Katahdin. And he's a nice guy. Simon's like, you guys should work together. Maybe Maine can be the guinea pig for this songscape idea where we send bands to public lands to create songs and music videos. And Lucas was like, okay, which was very kind of him to do to me, 5-year-old or I don't know, babies. And we sent Harrison's band up there. And
there was a track off of an album that I heard you talk about as like somewhat of a really good example of what this, like what an output of a band could be through this kind of endeavor.
Yeah, so your guys' band, isn't it called Katahdin?
It's called Katahdin,
yeah. But we're not blaming our project for it. But Obama did end up declaring it a national monument, which is almost as good as, or like, you need Congress to do national park, but so it's protected.
But we'll take it.
Yes, we'll take that. And now hopefully protected for a long time. You never know these days.
No, that's so true. That's very true.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to bring up your website so we can kind of speak to some of these different elements. You can kind of help steer me around. But yeah, so this is the main homepage. I would love to get into... so the songscapes, I want to kind of share that other song towards the end.
It was kind of where we shifted to trail sessions, which is still, I think, our take on like the community aspect that Green Roster had. Really focus on like the emerging artists who's, all the bands that are in those 15 passenger vans, and really focusing on local trails and showcasing places that are in my community's backyards that maybe people don't know about.
Oh, yeah, that's so true all the
Yeah,
time.
highlighting those with a guided hike and then an acoustic concert on the trail. Which for us, like they're far easier to put together. Our budget is essentially paying for the musicians, and then we partner with a local conservation nonprofit to do the guided hike. We split ticket proceeds with that organization. They get a chance to talk about their mission in front of a new audience.
Very cool.
And yeah, so that is kind of where our focus kind of shifted from Green Roster to more trail session of still getting like that community involvement.
For any of the musicians that are out there listening, like this might be something they'd be interested in, where these times where you can go away, do a retreat, get to kind of connect with nature and have a song come out of it.
Yeah, you just sold songs.
Yeah. There you go. Just record,
and we're done here. No,
but
yeah, no, tell us more about it and maybe some of the specific places you've already been, because you've obviously mentioned a lot of New England Northeast footprint, but you've also mentioned Colorado, and I know you go out that way, and Utah and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily just an East Coast Northeast thing. This can be something that happens pretty much anywhere in the country.
Yeah, so we partner with public land agencies. Usually they're federal, so that's like U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, U.S. Forest Service, National Park Service, and we work with their staff to set up week-long adventures. So we kind of tailor the retreat to the musicians' interests. Like some people just want chill, like enjoy the nature. Other people like, give me all of the adventures, all the activities. I want to do all the things.
I'll be hiking like 15 miles every single day.
Yeah.
And then like doing this other thing.
Yeah. So we sort of shape that retreat based on what the artist wants and also what our land partners want to highlight. Whether it's certain endangered species or features of the landscape. And so Week of Fun, we have a videographer there capturing content and their experiences. And the band uses that experience to create a new song. And we work with their publicist team, the recording team, get that song ready to go, make the music video to fit that song, and then work to get the song and story out to as many people as possible, and just cast a really wide net to expose people, their audiences, to these really incredible places all over the U.S. That if no one knows about, no one cares about, no one's going to make choices when they're at the ballots to protect.
Totally. So. Yeah, and I thought, so these are some of the examples. Obviously, KT Tunstall did one. Here's the Parsonsfield one. That's your band, Harrison, and a bunch of other ones here. I kind of wanted to maybe have you use this Ben Sollee Slackwater song and experience. It's right here. It was done at the Forsyth National Wildlife Refuge. Maybe use this one as an example, and then I have it here to play, the actual final song and video. So to maybe kind of talk through like some of those as a specific kind of like real life example of how this works, and then we're going to use that to kind of take us out.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like organizing the songscapes, like, and if this is kind of what you're talking about, like how they even happen, either artists will reach out to us or a land partner will kind of reach out and be like, hey, like we're interested in hosting one of these. Can you find a band? And then we'll kind of do some research and, basically try and find the right fit based on that. And songscapes, they take probably like around 6 months to plan in terms of lead up time. Because if you're working with musicians, as you know, tours, scheduling around tours,
sure,
and
absolutely.
I'm sure even trying to schedule a podcast is like, I need like at least 3 months in advance to like tell you when I'm free.
That is a factor.
So as you know, with music industry, like trying to get the right date to line up, sometimes you just like, it's a miracle.
Sure.
So yeah, so we need a lot of time to leave that up. We'll work with the artist to, as Betsy was saying, plan out what they want to do. In terms of meeting Ben, I think it was when we were in Colorado. We met his manager. We were living in Fort Collins. His manager recently moved to Fort Collins, and we were just chatting with the manager about what we do. And he's like, "Oh, I have a guy on my roster I think would be a really good fit for this." And I had known Ben solely from just like his music before. Yeah. And I think at the time, actually, I was really into his project with Abigail Washburn. Mm-hmm. I think it was called the Sparrow Quartet, I think. Mm. And so I was already just like really into like his music. And so I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. And so, manager reached out to Ben. Ben was like, yeah, this sounds like a really cool idea. He was really interested in highlighting rising sea level.
And like climate change.
Yeah. So at that time, there's like a project, and I think some other like kind of workings of an album that he was kind of thinking about already. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just aligned, like kind of what you were saying with like, sometimes things just fall into place and you don't know why, but you just gotta just go with it.
Yep.
So Ben was really interested, and then I had a good friend of mine who hosts house concerts in New Jersey, in the Pine Barrens. He works at Rutgers University as a marine biologist and researcher, and he had my band Parsons Field for a house show. That's where I met him like years ago. Mm-hmm. And I knew that he had a very special location there. Like this station was an old Coast Guard, research facility that was then bought over by the university. And I spent some time there for like house shows, and it's just like a really special place. Across mm-hmm. the bay, you can see the backside of Atlantic City.
Okay.
Which is really surreal.
Sure.
Because in this, like one of the most pristine estuaries like in the world. Mm-hmm. Actually, they use that as like a baseline measurement for like salinity and like just health of like those type of estuary kind of ecosystems. Mm-hmm. And then you just like look across the bay and there's like Atlantic City, which is like a dichotomy of just like this.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. And so, so we just like lined up some dates with Ben to come out with this. He brought his family there, and they spent about 5 days with Roland and some of the other scientists, like kayaking, paddling, learning about.
Research station mm-hmm. abuts Forsyth National Wildlife Refuge, so it's kind of this
it's shared
access.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I think one of the things that they highlighted was talking about the ghosts of the cedar swamps, and they are very sensitive to salt, and so when the sea level rises, it basically will kill all these stands of cedars, and then they just basically will just remain upright, just like white and just like ghost trees, just like trunks. Mm-hmm. And so it's like a very like just visual, like seeing what climate change is doing, like it's wiping out these
right. And if the water does happen to recede, it's not like it comes back. It's over.
It's dead.
Yeah.
So that was like a kind of like a big aspect of like some of the lyrical kind of inspiration for a couple of verses in there. Mm-hmm. So I mean that kind of I think speaks to like what we were trying to capture with Songscapes. It's really getting the artist immersed in like not only the ecology but like the history and like the people that actually steward the land that like see these things happening, and they can really talk to their own experiences to help inform like a song. Because when an artist is on this songscape or writing a song that's inspired by their experience there, we want it to be something that actually means something to them. Like audiences can tell when a song is kind of like a throwaway,
like preachy.
A preachy, just like save the earth because if you don't,
absolutely right.
We don't need really more of that. We want something that like is something that we can connect with. I think that's why the Songscape is like a great model, because it really, the artist has to stay there for be immersed in this, away from like tours, away from the email, and just really be focused on like what is happening around them.
Yeah, yeah, and we touched on this earlier, but like that's I think one thing that your organization is doing is trying to establish a little bit more of a positive message of we still have work to do, and we need to change, but it can be more in a hopeful way rather than in a do it or die kind of way. And I think that's a very cool thing. We're going to take a listen to Ben's song. But first, I kind of wanted to just take a moment to thank you both. Betsy, Harrison, thank you so much for all you do. It's very admirable work that your organization is doing, and it's producing very, very cool music as well. So thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for the mission, and hope to have you both part of our No Planet B Jamboree in person in the future. Next year's the 5th annual, so...
Yeah, we'd love to. Yeah.
So mark it down.
All right.
Connecticut, not too far. It's usually, again, the only thing for me is I just never know, is it the Saturday before or the Saturday after Earth Day? Some of that is at the mercy of the calendars, as you mentioned before. But thank you both for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And now here to take us out is Ben Solis' song Slack Water at the Forsyth National Wildlife Refuge.
Oh, slack water, won't you take your time? I could use a little space between the tides. There's something about your salty brine that puts me at ease in these troubled times. Oh, slack water, I know what it's like, the push and pull of daily life. It's hard to make out what's wrong and right. Put my paddle in the water every day and night. The tannins of the pines turn the water to wine. I see the ghost of the cedars as I float on by. And oh, slack water, won't you tell me why people don't change till the water gets high? But oh, slack water, oh, slack water, oh, slack water. Oh, slack water, I know you can't stay. You're just a breath in the middle of a chorus of change. On the Molokai River, you'll find your way through the bends and the turns to the old Great Bay. On the edge of the shore, there is a station where the people keep watch on the situation. Through every storm they keep the light, count the fish in the water, track the red knots fly. There's trouble ahead, the numbers don't lie, and it's scary as hell to look the truth in the eyes. But oh, slack water, oh, slack water, oh, slack water, won't you stay for a while? like water if you hear this song. Send it along to my restless son. Just like you, he's in between the boy he's been and the man he'll be. There ain't no map for what's ahead. Use your heart to feel your way instead. 'Cause sometimes it's hard to know what's wrong and right. Just put your paddle in the water every day and night. Oh, it's like water. 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 Won't you stay for